Greetings. Today's talk focuses on three issues. First, we take a look at what's going on with VW's Taycan / e-tron development. The second thing we look at is there's been some news on the buyout that's currently affecting Tesla's stock price. The third issue we cover today focuses on defects from the Model 3. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Thanks once again for joining us. Please note that John, I could see you, but we typically wait until the end to say hello to all of our live guests. But we love getting comments, questions from you that other folks can say hello to. I wanted to note today that I might seem a little bit drunk because I just had my Vietnamese coffee, and initially, because it was 3/4 ice, I thought I got ripped off. But now that the guy told me drink it slow because we don't want to mess up your heart, I understand what he was saying, because it's brutally, it's brutal but delicious, and I'm enjoying it. But I will let the ice melt so it can dilute some of the power. Also, please like, subscribe, any comments, all that influences the ranking of our videos, so we appreciate any and all of that you might do. And we're also on Patreon and could use your support there. You'll notice behind me that I'm in the Washington, D.C. area in a place called Falls Church, Virginia. We have a large Vietnamese, we have different ethnicities for different parts of the city, and I had some work to do in this area and happened to stumble on one of the best places in the city to get Vietnamese / Thai food. And so as you'll notice behind me, there's Thai noodles, there are all kinds of Vietnamese places, and I particularly love what's called Vietnamese pho, and it was excellent this morning. I was shrimp and pork for 10 bucks. It was awesome. So if you guys are in the area and in the mood for that kind of food, highly recommend you come by and check this out. So let's jump into our talk today. What happened is that it's been discussed that the Taycan is about to arrive, and it's no doubt about it, it's a beautiful car because it uses the body style of the 911, and as we know, it's one of the best looking vehicles since its introduction in the 60s, and VW Audi has stayed true to that vehicle for a very long time and very successfully. I wanted to note today that there's some mysteries surrounding this car. The first mystery I wanted to point out is that it was reported this past week that there are about 100 giga-hours of electric batteries available in the world. So what this means is that if you look at the numbers, there are 100 gigawatt hours of batteries currently in the world. This is August 22nd of 2018. There are 20 giga hours that belong to Tesla's production. There are about 50 gigawatt hours that belong to production associated with laptops and cell phones. So that leaves about 25 gigawatt hours for everybody else. And if you break this down, let's say in China, I would say they consume at least 15 of those gigawatt hours. So when you look at the 10 or so gigawatt hours left, I think we're in a situation where I can see why so many have announced, but so few have delivered. Unfortunately, we're getting a little fire truck going by here. So basically what this means is that if there's only about 5 to 10 gigawatt hours of batteries left to use, I can now understand why there's been $100 billion in announcements of cars they're going to use the batteries, but with only 10 gigawatt hours to spread over, 10 or 15 manufacturers, I think it now is clear why the 2021-22 time frame is what everyone is talking about when they'll become competitive with Tesla, and that's 3 or 4 years off, because you do need battery supplies to deal with it. The first part of our show is really devoted to taking a look at some highlights of the Taycan. One of the highlights that VW seems proud of is that they're going to be able to get to 80% charge in approximately 15 minutes. so they're charging twice as fast as what Tesla does currently. I believe that, it's great to announce that. I really am fascinated by this because, first of all, there's something called a lithium-ion battery, and just like a dog you may love, that battery has how it wants to be handled regardless of what you think you're going to do. So I'm fascinated by this 15-minute charge time and whether or not powering these batteries up that quickly don't result in shortening the life of the battery entirely. So if you're on that waiting list and they're offering you 15-minute charge times, I'd be skeptical and just plan on charging it at home and occasionally stressing your battery to that degree, because I don't think it's a recipe for longevity. I think it's a recipe for enjoying the batteries, and they'll be wiped out after 2 or 3 years. Other elements of this is the folks at VW Audi are planning on 189 locations around, there are 189 dealerships in the United States. So part of the strategy was they were going to put in 500 fast charging stations, with 189 of them being at the dealerships. And so this would cover, let's say, the Porsche dealerships, and one wonders then if there aren't about the same number of Audi dealers. So in theory, half to 3/4 of their charging locations might end up being at dealerships. I thought this was kind of interesting because, like, from what I've seen, Tesla has avoided putting charging stations at their service centers. They may have supercharging within the building to facilitate fast charge of vehicles that they need to get out, but they're not allowing the public access to these. So I think that's an interesting strategy difference, where Tesla doesn't want those facilities on site and competing firms do. So I think it's kind of an interesting idea. I kind of feel like it's a good idea to have fast charging at the facility because it allows people to come by, maybe buy other items off the shelf while they're there, have their car tuned up or looked at if they need to. All of those opportunities show up if you're doing fast charging there. The fast charging network was originally designed to help facilitate long-range travel, and having those at the service facility I don't think is part of that equation. So I guess I don't have a huge opinion on this. In general, I think the Taycan looks good. I think the papers on specs of 300 miles with a Porsche outer body is attractive. I think that, everything that they're saying on paper looks really good. We just haven't seen it in the hands of anybody but test drivers on German tracks, and allegedly the vehicle being out there in the cold and heat to determine how over time those vehicles perform. So I say best of luck to them. Hope the vehicle works well, because it'd be nice to see more entrance into electric space. The second thing I want to look at is news that comes up on the buyout front. It turns out that Goldman Sachs has stopped covering Tesla because they've now become an advisor on the buyout discussion we had. Morgan Stanley has also stopped covering Tesla, and the alleged reason is because they too have become an advisor on the buyout, and therefore by SEC rules are not allowed to be on the analyst side anymore while they're paid advisor. In general, I think it's if you feel that the buyout possibility and how it gives Tesla flexibility is real, I think it's good. I kind of like the idea that when you spread cash to some of these companies, it reduces, I want to say, the negative commentary that might occur. And so I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that Tesla is paying them a retainer fee, and then pending a transaction occurring, they'll have fees rolling into the hands of some of the entities that have really had bad things to say about Tesla over time. Perhaps it'll improve coverage, etc. One knows not how this might occur. So in general, the stock price is up, driven by the fact that you have two of the most powerful banks in the world now backing Tesla in the process of the evaluation of how this works. I have to say that I think that this is probably a board move, because corporate governance requires that any and all of these that occur need to be carefully evaluated. And it turns out that the CEO who might do the buying and the and the company both need separate bankers because the interests of the shareholders have to be preserved by the board, whereas a CEO would be focused on his interests. And so I think it kind of makes sense. So I think Tesla is going to get hit with some fees here for lawyer fees and banker fees, regardless of what happens. But at least it reduces the number of negative voices on the stock and helps improve the relationship on Wall Street in that process. The final thing I wanted to sort of dive in today is a piece of news that came out about the Model 3. As you'll notice from our last show, what we discussed is the fact that from a Toyota manufacturing standpoint, everything that Tesla is doing with its plant, be it the 80% robots and other techniques that Tesla is using, suggested that Tesla was in the business of rapid production that's focused on speed in a dreadnought factory where things you can run at the speed that the car was being produced. Now, news just came out that from internal documents, it's been announced that the only 14% of the cars coming off the line when Tesla got to 5,000 production were actually ready to go without repairs. The actual, so this is 86% of the cars needed an average of 37 minutes worth of repair work after those vehicles came off the line. Now, I wanted to highlight to you guys who always give me negative comments that this confirms what we talked about in terms of the battle between Toyota's lean manufacturing process and Tesla's efforts regarding really focusing on a dreadnought factory that allows you to do very rapid or high-speed production, where this production is a lot more concentrated on speed of execution and a lot less concentrated on optimizing quality. The average that was stated is that there's between a 60 and 80% accurate vehicle count for most vehicles coming off the line. And then, as we all know, there are man hours that go into this repair work that have to be considered as well. So Tesla sort of come back and said there's been a 30% reduction in the man hours that it takes to get cars done. And I think this is good news to hear on the back end. But this really highlights my comment about lean manufacturing, how Toyota operates, the fact that Tesla's been competing to try to identify ways to use robotics and software to supersede lean manufacturing. But what's interesting is that part of Toyota's goal, and one of the reasons Toyota has so taken over in auto manufacturing, is that they have a zero defect goal coming out of their factories. As we all know, when you go down to the lower the number of defects, you don't have to plan for people to rework that at the end, number one. Number two, you also have benefits when it comes to amount of vehicles that are coming back from customers that need service repair, etc. So I really think that there's a battle between the dreadnought factory that's being discussed by Elon Musk and the lean manufacturing that Toyota is recommending, and this is kind of illustrated in this defect rate. I'm hoping Tesla can get this down under 50% into the 30–40% that's industry norm. I don't know if the robotics heavy situation allows them to get there. And I guess one of the things we'll be covering forward is what happens with the dreadnought goals, and this will be in our next show, that Elon Musk has articulated numerous times in light of how the dreadnought goals affected what just happened to slow down manufacturing of the Model 3. So in general, this sort of covers sort of the general topics that we wanted to cover today. All my friends that have joined us live, always appreciated. Just to review, I believe the Taycan is a beautiful vehicle. e-tron is also a very good looking vehicle. I think both vehicles coming to market is a good thing. I don't think these guys have enough. Hey, David, Tobin, and Zodak1, thanks for all saying hello. I just wanted to highlight that, I think everybody's 2 or 3 years off because there's just not the battery capacity to support they're successful being competitors to Tesla. I am heading towards a closeout of our show today. I just wanted to generally review with you some of the health tips that I've been getting from various doctors I've recently had encounters with. Our rheumatologist suggested, and I'm doing it myself, 20 leg lifts a day per leg. This allows you to strengthen the quad muscles and reduce stress on your knees, therefore less or no knee replacement. The second issue was plenty of water during the day. The third issue is stretching before and after any exercise you might do. I just got a crazy recommendation from a personal trainer that I met, and he recommended that you do between 50 and 100 squats a day because it allows your glutes to be strengthened, because sitting at the desk for long periods of time really affects that. The other items are don't eat preferably 4 hours, but no less than 2 hours before you go to bed, because this results in bile or your stomach acids rolling up into your upper respiratory area and potentially causing cancer. And finally, at least a 30 SPF for sunlight, regardless of skin color, because you know, skin cancer is a legitimate issue. So, anyway, those are my general health tips that I wanted to review with you for today. I just tried my Vietnamese pho this morning, and it was excellent as usual. Rice noodles. Good job on the squats. I just thought 40 was excessive, but that's great if you actually do that. You can skip the leg lifts because that's exactly the area that you're working. I also like to do military presses 2 or 3 times a day because that gets some exercise to the upper body. Looking forward to any and all of your comments. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Tschüss, macht's gut, au revoir, lehitrot, choda hafez. And in Jamaica we say, enough respect, walk good man. I'm going to end our show today by panning so you guys can get a look at the mall that we're at right now. Excellent Vietnamese food, large Vietnamese community in the greater Washington, D.C. area. As you probably all know, there are shopping centers like this for folks from different parts of the world. So people will drive between 50 and 100 miles from the suburbs to get to locations like this, particularly on the weekends, because there aren't enough folks from those communities to support them in their local communities. But it's really a treat to roll up on gems like this. And I think for my Tesla Fan Insight page on Facebook this week, I'm going to put some photos there of different foods in our mall that I took pictures of today that look tasty but had never had them before. So you can maybe Google map where I'm at in Falls Church, Virginia. That'll be, you know, on here based on Google Maps. And I'm just gonna, you know, give you a look at the parking lot area as we sign out today. Have a great day. Look forward to seeing you on Friday. Hey Stephen, thanks for the question regarding the 420 price point for Tesla. Excellent question. The interesting thing is that the board will tell Elon Musk what the price needs to be for them to be interested, or there might be a counter bidder elsewhere. But Elon can suggest a price that he might want. But the question is, how does the advisory to the board respond to what that buyout offer number is? I kind of think that it's possible for it to be 420. The reason why that number comes up is that typically when you make an offer for a company, a 20% premium is about what most bankers require to show that it was a credible offer. So with Tesla's stock price being down right now, I would argue that that 420 number, you know, so we're at 320 right now, add 20% to the 320, and I think that's about what the buyout number would be appropriate currently. It could stay at 420, but I think that's the appropriate number of what the usual premium is that is recommended to show there's no collusion on the part of an independent advisor on what that number might be. Thanks once again for joining us. Please, watch 8 or 9 seconds of our ads. Definitely helps support. We could use your help on Patreon. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss anything. Have a great day and bye for now.